Well, this is Matt from DiscoverCollegeSoccer.com, and I am excited to be joined by Coach Ponton from Cape Fear Community College in North Carolina. Coach, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, Coach and I were just chatting for a quick second beforehand, and so, as of last year, Coach was on the men's side of the program and has now subsequently switched over and is now the women's coach. So we get kind of both sides of the coin. So it's an even better bits of information because you can talk about both. Want to run through a couple things here. First, just about your recruiting process, and then we'll talk some about the school, and then on the team side, and maybe if you haven't had any seasons yet, is on the women's side, maybe we'll talk about the men's side, but that's okay.
Okay.
So, a lot of times kids don't necessarily, their first thought isn't, oh, community college option, right? But the fact of the matter is there's usually more scholarships available, right, on the community college side of things, and they can knock out some of that those early courses that everybody's got to take and really position themselves for a great future by going to community college first. I know when I was a coach, I needed game ready players. I went and was recruiting the community colleges hard. So it's a great stepping stone for a lot of students. So what is it that you like to ask your recruits during that first contact?
Honestly, I don't ask them many questions. Once I find someone that I like, I will bypass them and I will answer any questions that they have, but I will bypass the player and I will find their high school coaches and their club coaches contact. And I will talk to the coach because they don't want to send me someone who's a liability.
Yeah.
Just the same as a community college coach, you don't want, we're honest. When it comes to speaking to four-year school coaches, we're going to tell you what you're going to get because, I might tell you, you probably don't want him or her, that maybe you should look at this player instead, or are you willing to deal with the headache to take that quality of a player? And so I don't normally start off by asking any questions. Now, if you're talking like via email, if someone emails me, normally they make the mistake of not linking their highlight videos. And so that's normally that if you're asking like, what is my first question? That is it. Like, can you send me a link to your highlight video?
Okay.
But if you're talking like to the next step, I'm probably going to I'm probably bypassing the player. So I'm not wasting time talking to the player.
Right. No, that makes sense. So that kind of dovetails into two different questions I have. Is one, so you like to see highlights. Do you prefer just clips or full games?
Clips. I don't have time to watch a full game.
Yeah, fair enough.
If I really like you and I know I'm not going to get to see you, say I'm talking to someone who's like hours and hours away and they don't have enough highlight videos. Maybe they only have like one highlight video. Then I may ask for a full game. Okay. But chances are if you've got 3-4 nice highlight videos that are somewhere in the 3 to 5 minute range, or if you've got one and I can see you in person, or if you've got none and I can see you in person, I don't need to see a full game. I really don't have time to sit down and watch full games unless I have it scheduled to go out and recruit myself.
So what about preferred method of communication? Are you an email guy, a phone guy, a text guy? What do you like to?
Initially email, because I don't want players that I'm not interested in texting me.
Fair enough.
I mean, because that sounds a little harsh, right? Well, but I mean, just being truthful, right? It just the same. They probably don't want coaches that they're not interested in texting them.
Absolutely.
And so I would rather let's start via email, and we can go that way first. And then if I've gone past at least starting to express some interest in you, I've probably already talked to your high school coach. I've already talked to your club coach. Like I've already done all that. Now we can text back and forth.
Gotcha. So you mentioned seeing players in person. Where is it that you spend of your majority of time when you're out? What tournaments do you go to? How far away from your school do you travel?
So we're not a big budget team. Right. At community college, that's the main difference that I've come to realize, because when it comes to quality, we can compete with almost anything from like lower D1 like to like mid D2, mid D3, mid NAIA, like down. And we just don't have the budget. So the big tournament, like the tournament that you will see me at every single year, is the NCFC Showcase, formerly known as Castle. And the reason that is because it's 2 hours away from me. And so, like, that's hands down. I don't have the money to go to Disney. While I would love to make that trip down to Florida, right?
Come on down, man.
Visit, I'd love to come visit y'all. But what I always joke is I'll make it down there and then I won't make it back. You know, but I'm intending to go to Jefferson Cup, and one of the reasons that I go up to that one is that's near where I'm from. And so I can, instead of I can save some money by spending time with family and stuff like that, and take some time to enjoy seeing family while I'm up there. But I don't go to Jefferson Cup every year. It kind of depends on where is my team at that point. And I know we're going to go in this direction, and we can get back to that. But like we discussed, like a lot of people don't consider community college early on. I might go and see a sophomore or junior that I like, but they're not even going to consider community college most likely at that point. So if I'm already good and set by the time the Jefferson Cup rolls around, I'm not going up there for that trip and spending that money within the team's budget to go look for seniors when I'm already good to go. So the NCFC Showcase 100% every year. And then I normally am invited to other colleges' ID clinics, like four-year schools of every division. They invite me out to their ID clinics. And then I hit every high school team in the area. My main source is my ID clinic. I've never had an ID clinic where I did not pull players from, that I did not pull multiple players from. So for me, it's not a moneymaker. Like, it helps contribute, but I only charge $40 for my ID clinic. And now the rest of our athletic department has mimicked what I've done and charging $40 per player. Where if I go to a four-year school, they're probably charging at least double that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
yeah,
my ID clinic, I hit all the high school coaches, NCFC Showcase, occasionally Jeff Cup or some other tournament, and then four-year schools ID clinics.
So you know, the one thing that probably people don't quite think about is, you know, a community college is a 2-year program, so you actually have to recruit basically double what a 4-year school does, because you're churning out that many kids in half the amount of time, right? So when is it that you start, I guess, looking at players? What grade are they when you're starting to watch them and maybe keep track of them, or does it? I'm wondering if it starts later for you, just because you know you're waiting for everybody's going to make those decisions, and then you kind of get your.
It does. You can.
Recruits.
I've come to find that you can try and make a move for a player, but they still have like pipe dreams.
Sure.
And you know, you try and explain to them that that's just not the scenario. But if you came to me and you got the playing time, you saved money, you know, then you may gain interest. I mean, I pull players every year. They get offers, maybe not scholarship offers, but get offers from schools of every division every year. I have one player that had a D1 school trying to pick him up, a D2, a D3, a NAI. It never fails. But they end up coming to me. But I normally don't end up really recruiting players until like the second half of their junior year in high school to like early senior year. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't go earlier, that I don't try to go after someone earlier. I just know that it's almost like wasted time. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. So with that being said, is there a specific quote unquote type of player you're looking for, whether that be, you go to the showcase, Castle, whatever, and you get the sheet of the team, and, is there something on that sheet that says, okay, this is probably a good prospect for me, whether that be grades, test scores, or anything like that? Does that kind of drive your targeting?
Oh man, I mean, look at what I got right here. You know, you bring that up, and look at what this stack of stuff. This is from that tournament, this past one.
Sure.
Before I made the move over to the women's side, I was still going for the men's side at that point. But when I go, normally there's a reason I'm at a game, because as we discuss like budgeting and whatnot, normally I will have an assistant coach there with me at the showcase, and I will make a priority to go see people who made a priority to email me. And so, or for example, like this one, I'm not gonna like show like everything, but you know what? This coach is a Division I coach at a nice program, and he had me come out to watch 3 of his guys, and there was a 4th one that was a junior that I really liked, and so I went out to watch those 3. And you know, as a 2-year school, we do have a lot of turnover, not because you know players are quitting or anything, but it's 2-year school.
Yeah.
You know, you got to replace at least half your team pretty much every year.
Yeah.
And so I make a priority to go see everyone that makes a priority to see me, and then I make a priority to for that showcase guys that are in their senior year. I go watch them first so I can fill my squad out, because at that point I have a good idea how many players am I losing. So how many players I'm gonna need to replace? You know, that's less than a month after my season's over. I got a good idea of what's going to be going on for the following fall for me. But yeah, always a priority to, you know, go see the players that email me first, and preferably, hopefully, those players have sent me a link to their highlight videos so that I already have a good idea. And then once I've scheduled that up, then I'll go try and look at either coaches that have communicated with me in the past, go watch their teams, or go watch in-state teams, because while I had the most out-of-staters that I've ever had this past fall, still typically your in-staters are the only ones that are looking at me because they're the only ones that have heard of us, maybe.
So that actually brings me to my next question. So you already answered that you're primarily in-state, but I mean, how many inbound emails do you get from prospects every week or month?
Not a lot, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like more. I've noticed more on the men's side than on the women's side, but more internationals. And we are probably the only school that you will ever hear of that does not accept internationals at all. That have nothing to do with that. It's not that I don't like internationals. I had plenty of great guys from, you know, different countries at my last college that I was at when I was an assistant. But our school just doesn't want to deal with the visas, to my understanding.
Yep.
And so, you know, to me, that's a perk to players that are wanting to get immediate playing time. If they would understand like how internationals are normally older and they're normally a little more serious because they're coming around the world. But you know, I get more than one a day for sure. I mean, there's some days I'll have like 3 to 5 a day.
Okay.
But since moving to the women's side, maybe because I'm recently moved over to the women's side, but I've noticed that it is nowhere near that on the women's side.
So what is it? What is your scholarship bucket? How many scholarships do you have to give? And is there a mix of academic and athletic aid available for players at the junior college level?
Okay. So there is, depending on where you are, that's a school to school thing, and it's a school to school thing on how much scholarship money that they have. You know, you have I mean, what is it, 18 scholarships, I think, junior college. So it's some obnoxious number that I will never ever hit. Right.
So
And so
right. So
it's
I think
irrelevant.
yeah, it may even be like 24 now, but that's the limit that the NJCAA puts in. But the school has to decide to fund that, right? So
yeah.
I guess, so how many has your school decided to fund for you?
So unfortunately, due to COVID, we had to cut back on finances, and scholarships is what took the hit. But prior to that, normally you would say that I'd have 5 to 6 guys on somewhere between like a 60 to 75% scholarship. And then I had one player that, and I don't like to give scholarships to freshmen. I like to give them to the sophomores. I would rather hold all the money and give it to proven sophomores than give it to a freshman that is just not prepared for the college game yet. They you know, you'll in the end you'll get the same amount of money, right? You'll get the same amount of money in the end, but I'm just going to withhold it for the guys that would come in and prove themselves academically as leaders and whatnot. But I had one guy that I put on, like, I was like, what are you paying this semester? And I gave him every penny. Now you're talking, he was an in-stater, and in-staters here at Cape Fear are normally paying somewhere between like $800 to $1,300 a semester.
Oh wow!
So it's not a lot, right?
Right.
You know, that's what he was paying, and I'm like, tell me what you're paying, and we'll get that covered. But normally I would have guys on, somewhere between like a 60 to 70% scholarship, and I never withdrew scholarships. I never had to withdraw a scholarship from anybody, which I'm thankful for, because I know that on the Division I level, they will withdraw it from you real fast. But we don't offer academic scholarships because our school's already so affordable.
Right. So well, that's something somebody can look up on the website. I like to try to hold this to questions people can't find easily on the website, because that's the whole purpose, right? So, well, then let's talk about your school, right? You just mentioned that. So what would you say are the 3 things that your school is most known for?
I mean, my school is known for being at the beach, for being a very large enrollment community college. And then honestly, it's known for its nursing and trades.
Okay.
So we have like the top nursing program in the state. And then if you look at overall enrollment, see, there's people make a mistake. They type in like undergrad enrollment. Well, that cuts out all of your trades.
Oh, okay.
Right. So our undergrad enrollment is somewhere around, I don't know. Honestly, I don't remember. But our overall enrollment is just under 30,000.
And that's all on site there?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. I mean, this is not like a crazy large like city like Atlanta or even like Raleigh. It's nothing like that. But I know it's definitely bigger than what I was used to. So it took some adjusting to being an area this large. But legitimately, I could get in my truck right now and drive to the beach while we're on this Zoom call and be standing on the beach within 15 minutes easily, probably less. And so like that's one thing that is attractive, but not to everybody. Not everybody's even concerned about that. But that's definitely one of the things that we're known for when players come here. And it's honestly why most of my players did not want to transfer on after playing a couple years here.
Fair enough. Well, so what's something about that's just totally awesome about your school that people wouldn't know from a map or wouldn't find on the website? Kind of like, what's the hidden gem?
I think it's just very personable. Like, the classes, everything. While it's a large enrollment school, you got to think that all those people are divvied up within trades and whatnot. But to me, as long as you're willing, everybody in our school, especially within the athletic department, is very personal. Like, if you need something, like I got an email, what was it, 2 weeks ago? Like, let us know if any of your athletes need a tablet or a laptop for the semester, like stuff like that.
Wow.
And so, like, to me, for a community college, like, they're definitely willing to support that. And my big thing is, what I appreciate is at the end of the day, because I mean, I used to coach in the NCAA. At the end of the day, none of my players should be in debt. And if they are, it is such a small chunk that you could take care of with a part-time job working for just a little while.
That's definitely a bonus. So you talk about maybe hitting a part-time job, but specifically at your school, how do your student athletes handle the balance between school and playing ball?
For the most part, most of them, as long as they come in and they handle what they're supposed to do, they're fine. You're always going to have a player who's going to fall through the cracks, and it doesn't mean that I'm not monitoring their grades. We actually have a good trying to think of software where I've got my phone sitting on my tablet. I could pull my tablet up and in less than a minute pull someone's grades, and that allows me to monitor the grades. But it's on the professors to update those grades too. But it allows me to keep a decent idea of how each player is doing academically. I would say that most players do well, and definitely come in with the right mindset of like, let me get the good grades, let me perform on the field, and then let me get prepared to transfer on. Normally, you do see like a freshman burnout towards the end of the actual college season, because unlike at a four-year school where freshmen's minutes are going to be limited, a quality freshman is going to come in and start, and they're going to be getting heavy minutes. And you often see towards the tail end of the season, those players, they start to burn out a little bit. And there's nothing that can really be done about it. But what I have noticed is you don't see that from them when they're sophomores.
Yeah.
Because they know the weight of what's going to be coming at them.
It's a learning curve for sure. So,
it is.
Yeah. You mentioned that the staff's very personable, and the professors are putting the grades in, so you're able to see what's going on. What other support mechanisms does your college provide for student athletes? Is there any sort of?
So we have tutoring, and we have the library staff is great. I go in there and get books for my kids, and they're like super helpful. Like, you just tell them what you need, and they will walk you over to find whatever it is that you need. But a handful of my guys every semester are like, hey, I need some help with tutoring with this or that, and they always end up finding the help that they need. I just point them in the direction of the tutoring center, and that's pretty much all I have to do. And so I've noticed that that's very beneficial to the athletes who take it upon themselves to understand that grades are huge, especially if you want to transfer on.
That's good. Now, at a community college, are there dorms? Are kids staying on campus, or are they finding off-campus housing?
So at some there are, and at some there are not. At my last college there was, but here there are not. So I have a deal with an apartment complex here in town, and I do not force my players to live there, but it's an ideal area, centrally located, and they're going to be living with teammates. And so, and I got them a nice little deal by, working with the apartment complex. If I bring X amount of players over, you're going to give me X amount of a discount. And that was just me sitting down with them, and I had my players at another location prior. That was a good location, but the apartment complex was not at the standard for student athletes. And so my guys were like, Coach, you got to get us out. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna get on it. And I found this other location, and I've had my guys there for 2 years, and they really like it. Prior to that, my first few years, I just let the guys go wherever they want. And then I heard guys were spending like over $200 more than what, $100 to $200 more a month in rent than where I located them at now. But like I said, I don't require any of them to live there. I actually have two of the guys, they live back behind me where I live. And so they can go about wherever they want as long as they're getting to practice and stuff. But if your car breaks down, or you want to carpool with somebody, or you just want to hang out with the guys, it's a lot easier if you live right there together.
Sure. So what does a typical non-game day during season look like for one of your players? How does the scheduling of classes and practice kind of coincide?
Yeah, so I mean, the typical week would look like this. So it would be Monday morning, 6 a.m. fitness, and then Monday evening, and then that would be like 6 to 7, and then they might have 8 a.m. classes, and classes would run on and off from 8 to about 1:30 to 2. The latest that they should probably be getting out of class is about 2:15. And then we would have Monday evening practice from 3:15 to 5:15, and they'll be expected to be there by 3 o'clock. And then Tuesday is the same thing, 3:15 to 5:15. Wednesday is normally game days. Thursday is like our wild card day, depending on how Wednesday went, and we're like, where are we on the road?
Yeah.
Friday, that could be study hall, that could be a day off, that could be like a recovery session, that could be a full-on practice, film. I mean, it's just a wild card. Friday is normally the slowest day of the week, except for 6 a.m. Not hard fitness, but dynamic movement, some stretching, foam rolling, stuff like that. And then Friday evening is just like walk through film, 3:15 to 5:15. Saturday game day, Sunday off, and that's your standard week.
Okay.
For us.
How far do you guys travel for games?
I mean, typically all games are like a 1-day thing, but that means we're getting back late, and that's something that a lot of players are not used to. They're not used to like that grind of getting up and leaving early in the morning and then getting back like crazy late at night, sometimes after midnight. But normally, where we are going up to Virginia or to South Carolina, some trips take over 5 hours. By the time that you stop and you feed the players and then you get to the location, it could be over 5 hours. And then we'll probably have like maybe one overnight trip during the regular season where we'll do like a double header.
Okay. Well, let's rotate now to talking about the team and about how you guys play. And I understand that you were on the men's side this past fall and are now on the women's, but haven't played a season yet with them. So feel free to answer like how you did how you were doing with the men's side. But how many players do you like to typically carry on your squad?
24 to 26.
Okay. And then how big is your staff? You mentioned assistant earlier. How many coaches do you have on staff?
Normally 2 to 3.
And those are you said volunteer assistants or part-time
They're
assistants?
volunteers.
Yeah. And you're a part-time coach, which means are you generally speaking only on campus then during season, or are you there part-time throughout the year?
part-time throughout the year. They let me come and go as they want, as I want. Today I've been working at home,
Yeah.
and that's where I am now. I can get a lot more work done just sitting at home than taking that extra time to just drive to the office, sit down and do the exact same work.
Right.
But I do make sure that I'm showing up at the office here and there, make sure that I'm getting things done. Often I'm showing up at different hours than a lot of the rest of the staff is, but I make sure that I pop in to get things done.
So, we're talking, it's February 1st. So it's the off season. So what does your off season program look like for your players?
So right now, there was like no girls returning, hardly at
Oh,
all,
wow.
like a handful. So I'm really in the works of really rebuilding the program and moving in the direction where I think us as a whole as the athletic department wants it to be. It's always been a successful program, but we're trying to push it back past just being like a top 20 program. And so that's what my goal is with the program. Had I still been on the men's side, today would have been day one practice of the spring. And we
Okay.
would be practicing Monday through Thursday every week. So they'd have Friday, Saturday, Sunday to get a job. I really like my guys to get jobs. And then we could play as many four-year schools as we want within 4 days. And then we would have like a 1 day of community service, and then we would have probably them working like one spring ID clinic, and then we would have like an alumni game, which would be the very last Saturday in April, which is where we would finish.
Okay. Awesome. Well, so in terms of the actual, gameplay, right? So how would you describe your style of coaching, your team style of play?
So I'm not an overly aggressive coach, but I'm also not one that's just going to sit down. I like to really stay neutral. I like to not yell at people. I like to hold it in my back pocket. That way, when I do react, you know that either it's gone really, really good or it's gone really, really bad, right? And so I like to hold my emotion back a lot. That way, I feel like if in my experience, if you're a sideline screamer, when you really need to get their attention, they're not gonna respond.
Yeah.
And so I like to really just sit back and evaluate. And when I need something delivered to the team, I will deliver it through a player or through a sub. That way the other coach isn't hearing me. Trust me, when I stand on the sideline and I hear the other coach giving directions, I'm like, okay, so that's what they're about to do. But our style is not long ball, but not like high possession. Like, because you get a mix of standard of play. And for me, I like all my players to get playing time. That doesn't mean they're going to play every game, but it's more like switch the ball when we can, knock it around a little bit, and then let's get up the field.
Okay. Well, this has been awesome. Appreciate it. I don't want to take too much more of your time, so I guess I'll wrap it up with just one last question. Is there anything else you would like prospects or anybody else to know about your school and your program?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, to me, promoting players on is easy. If you come in here and you get a 3.0 GPA and you're like a decent player within our program, I could probably find you a scholarship somewhere. I mean, typically the average player is going to get somewhere between 10 and 15 four-year schools pursuing them. The below average player is going to get somewhere between like 5 and 8 schools pursuing them. If you come in and you're a stud, I mean, I had a guy that had 28 schools pursuing him, and I had another guy that had 32 schools pursuing him. And actually, both of those players didn't go on a transfer anywhere. And why did they not go on a transfer anywhere? I know, right? That's mind blowing. Because of the location. They found it a lot more attractive just to stay here. They had already, like I said, I like my guys to get jobs. And so they had come here. They had really gotten into the workforce. They had probably found a passion of some kind. And that's honestly why I built a semi-professional team, which I'm working on. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to return it for a second year, but I built it because I had so many quality players that had like even up to full ride scholarships that didn't want to go anywhere. So in 6 years, I sent 14 guys on to play. I could have easily doubled that had guys been more willing to go on to play. Some regret it after they don't transfer on, and then some don't. It's a personal thing. Some guys don't even go on to finish their bachelor's degree. They just wanted to come get their associate's degree to kind of learn more about themselves and get college playing experience. So, why not? Your class is probably costing half, if not a third, of what you would have been paying for the exact same class. Like English 110, right? That class, you're going to pay like 3 times as much for that class. at one of the 4-year schools 2 years, like 2 hours down the road. So at least you could have come here, lived at the beach, saved some money, and taken the exact same class and kind of learn a little bit about yourself. Because I don't know about you, but I definitely changed my major, and most people change their major at least once, right?
Yep. Same here. Yep. Swapped my major too. And I think the last stat I ever heard was like, it's on average like 2.5 times kids change their
Yeah,
major. So, I
it's
mean,
yeah, somewhere like that,
yeah.
right? So why not come for 2 years and figure out what you want to do and learn a little bit more about yourself before looking to go on, especially because they're going to have more free time here in regards to work. Like, I really push them. I want them to work. I want them to network. I want them to build those connections so that when they do need a job, they have references and whatnot from their time while they were here. But to me, that's a big proponent of what I do here. It's while we look for the results, I look for growing them as young people first, because in 10 years, when they're 10 years older, that will tell me really how successful like our program was and how well they did in their time here. Because I mean, I've had seasons where I left the men's side as the second winningest coach, and I had seasons where we did really good. And then like this past season, I went most of the season without a goalkeeper. Both of them had serious injuries, like
Ooh.
bad, like really bad. Kind of like hopefully not life altering, but we'll see.
Ooh.
And so you have seasons like that where it's very unexpected because you're like, oh, this team's quality. But I'm excited for the change of the women's side. My first year in the college ball was on the women's side of the game, so this isn't like foreign land for me. But that's kind of, if I was to like wrap up like what the perk of looking at our school, it's more so that like come in, save money, play right away, and then unless you're getting a look from an elite Division I school, chances are you could come to me for 2 years and then turn around and go to that same school that was pursuing you in the first place.
Oh, it's great insights, and I appreciate your time and giving us a look at another kind of school, because like you said, it's not always top of mind for kids to think about junior colleges, but they provide an excellent resource, and you can help them find that next best school that maybe was a little bit elusive or not easy to find as a high schooler. So it's awesome, and I wish you luck on the women's side, and
Thank you.
we'll check back in with you, see how you guys did, and maybe some extra recruits will see this video and give you an email with a link to their videos.
Yeah, that would be nice.
All right. Well, thanks, Coach Ponton. Appreciate it. And we'll talk to you again soon.